The order of the Community Advisory Public Safety Commission for February 25th, 2022. I'll do a roll call, knowing that Commissioner Routsong will be joining us shortly. We have Commissioner Ford.
Here.
Commissioner Brown Sparks.
Here.
Commissioner Mann.
Here.
Commissioner Carey. You will have to unmute Commissioner Carey, if you can. And Commissioner Miller here. Still waiting for Commissioner Carey to voice her attendance.
She may be trying to log back in.
Could be, it looks like it. Yeah, like you said, she was having technical difficulties. Maybe by the time she's back, then Commissioner Routsong will be here also. Well, while we're waiting for her and Commissioner Routsong, we do have a quorum, so we could go ahead and approve the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Mann and Commissioner Brown Sparks. Do we have someone that wants to volunteer to keep the minutes?
I can do that.
Excellent. Now let me go back and take a vote on that approval of the agenda, since I didn't take a vote on it.
Sorry about that. I am getting like kicked out of the meeting like every time I try to join. I don't know what's going on.
Well, we can hear you. We're taking a vote on approving the minutes, and could we, whoever's going to take the minutes, Commissioner Carey, we did a roll call vote, and you are present.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. So we're going to do a roll call vote on the approval of minutes. Commissioner Mann?
Just approval of the minutes or agenda?
Agenda, thank you, sorry. Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
And Commissioner Carey?
Yes.
And Commissioner Miller, yes. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that motion carries 5-0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5-0. Let's see, what do we have on the agenda today? Back to who wants to take the minutes? Do we have a volunteer?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. That is much appreciated. You're very good at it too, by the way.
Much, much, much appreciated.
Okay. So where are we on the agenda? Sorry, I moved my agenda way down so I could see all the other stuff. Now it's hiding from me, which I hate that when that happens. There it is. So we're going to review the, wait a minute. Review meeting memoranda. Is that my right? Yeah, that's what it says.
Correct.
So we're doing approval of, or reviewing the memoranda for January 27th, 22. So that's the minutes from January 27th, 22.
And I'll add here, you're welcome to take these one at a time. You could approve them as a block if you'd like. If anyone has a specific date that they'd like to, vote on separately, maybe they could just speak up about that. But otherwise, I'd suggest just approving them as a block if you prefer.
That's a great idea. I like that idea. If ever.
Well, I'll make that motion to approve them as a block. That's how we need to word it.
I'll second.
Great, thank you. So let's take a roll call vote on that to approve all of those minutes. That would be Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner Ford,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Carey,
Yes.
Commissioner Routsong,
Yes.
and the motion carries and Commissioner Miller, the motion carries 6-0. And thank you for that little suggestion, Stephen. That was a time saver. Do we have somebody who would like to volunteer to keep the time, and then we can have a discussion on what we want the time to look like for discussion?
I've added a meeting timer to the meeting, so I'm happy to use that. If it's helpful, I can set the time for whatever you all decide you'd like to limit speakers to.
That would be great, unless somebody's just chomping at the bit to want to do it. And I didn't see anybody raise hands, so could you do that for us? Thank you. Do we want to do it the same way as usual? 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and then for the first round, 2 minutes for the second round. I don't think we've ever really had any difficulty with that. We'll go through and do a roll call for comments. Commissioner Mann, is that okay with you?
Yes.
Commissioner Ford,
Yep, that works.
Commissioner Brown Sparks,
That's fine.
Commissioner Carey,
Yes.
and Commissioner Routsong,
Yes.
and Commissioner Miller, yes. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna do 3 on the first round, 2 on the second. Stephen, 4 rounds of debate and question.
Got it.
Thank you. So let's go to reports. I'm going to ask if any commissioners have any reports they would like to give. And we'll go to roll call vote. Commissioner Ford, do you have any reports you want to give?
So I'm can you help explain exactly what those reports, what that means by reports?
So that won't be like the reports from committees. That might mean something like if it's not on the agenda and you've been working on something, or something's been drawn to your attention that you would bring up. Could be that something you've been working on alone or with others that you wanted to also discuss briefly. That is kind of what that is.
Okay, I had a feeling, so I wanted to double check with that. So I did have a conversation with a victim's advocate from the IU University for sexual assault. And he had told me that I can reach out to him. He actually does like formal and informal talks over how to prevent sexual assaults. He also makes the flyers that are distributed throughout IU campus. And he also provided me some really great resources for more national databases. So there's the RAIN database, which is RAINN, and that has quite a bit of like national statistics on things, as well as different infographics. And then the CDC as well has a lot of those statistics, but also programs that have been like evidence-based and different research on the prevention of sexual assaults. So I think that'd be helpful for whichever committee is working on sexual assault prevention. And I know we're also kind of addressing that as a commission as a whole. So that's been my most recent research.
Well, thank you for that. That's great. Did you have a name for that victims advocate?
His name is Chandler Boys, B-O-Y-S. And I can, if anyone's interested, I can get in contact with him since I already have a rapport, and I can see if he either knows someone that would be willing to speak for the commission, or if he would do so himself, if we'd want a guest speaker on that at some point.
Thank you. Maybe that's something we can discuss in emails and figure out how we want to move forward with that. Thank you. That's great. Commissioner Brown Sparks, did you have anything you wanted to report?
I've been learning about some of the African American history in Bloomington and some of the historical buildings in Bloomington, and I've been learning the process for what you need to do to get buildings registered on the National Registry. So that's something that I've been doing recently with outside of the committee. But
that sounds really interesting. How do you do that? How do you get registered?
There's a process that you have to do for the state. There's a step-by-step process, and like it'll guide you along online. Once you go to sign up for it, it guides you along everything that you have to do in that process. So it's really, I can't really explain it right like this, but it's on the state's website. And once you get registered for the state, and I can't really explain it like this because it's really not like, I can't explain it like, it's not like a multiple choice process. It's like a long process, a step-by-step process, because you have to prove things along the way. And so it's,
that makes sense. How interesting. That sounds very interesting. Would anybody else besides me like to see something like that? Because if it's just me, I'd just ask you to reach out and share it with me. Well, thank you for sharing that. Commissioner Mann, do you have anything?
I don't have anything outside of our committee status updates.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Carey? Do you have anything? We can come back to her. Commissioner Ratsong, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Hi, yes, I would. Sorry, I accidentally stopped and restarted the recording. Sorry about that. Again, it's my touch screen issues. Yeah, I wanted to report on my progress on the Anti-Semitism Resolution. And it's going well. And I have a draft. I have a first draft of it that I'm going to be circulating next week with all the interested community stakeholders. It's taken a while, just because I had a lot of catching up on research to do because I wasn't very familiar with this issue before getting started. So I apologize. It's taken a little more time than I had expected. but it's going well. I have a draft and will be circulated in the community very soon, hopefully for endorsements and sponsorships, etc. And I'll be sending it out to all the commissioners as well for your feedback. And it would be great if anyone could let me know if they have people, organizations, or anything you think would possibly be good sponsors or endorsements of this. Or you could send it directly to them as well. So that's the update on the anti-Semitism resolution. Any questions? Comments, questions on that? Okay. And then I just wanted to report on the Reparations and Atonement Committee. Is this the right time to do that?
No,
I saw it's on the agenda a little later too.
That. Yeah, well, that's later down on the.
Okay. Okay, cool. We'll talk about that later then. Yep. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Carey, did you have anything you wanted to report under the commissioners section before we get started with the rest of the agenda?
I don't know if this is really anything to report. I've been just doing some research so I can actually get to talking to I know that it's another section that we have questions for our local police officers. But I really wanted to, on a personal level, sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with a police officer here locally. So that's just an idea that I'm throwing out. But I have to do some research so we can start having that healthy, open conversation in a more personable way. So that's just an idea I'm throwing out.
Thank you, Commissioner Carey. I couldn't agree more. I know that that the Bloomington Police Department welcomes that. So it's a good idea, and I'd be interested in doing that too, with you or separately.
No, I will definitely keep you updated. I would love to have someone with me because
yeah,
I would love you to accompany me. So I would definitely keep you updated.
Sounds good. Thank you. Commissioner Rounsong, is your hand still up, or did you want to say something else?
Yeah, it's up because I just remembered I forgot to mention some things, important things with the Anti-Semitism Resolution. So we're planning this timeline is that I'm hoping it can be discussed and voted on in our March meeting. And because of that, I mean, our current meeting time, Friday at 5 p.m. falls on Shabbat, which is an important Jewish holiday. And so for that reason, I would ask our commissioners to make a special one-time outside of our usual meeting time for March. And because I know Becky worked really hard to collect all of our schedules, and like this was the best meeting time. So I'm not suggesting we change the meeting time forever, but I would request that we consider discussing changing the meeting time for March.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the previous commission meeting. So thank you for the reminder, Commissioner Rounsong. We'll make sure to have that on the on our minds as we're scheduling later on in this meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I just didn't see it on the agenda. Thanks.
Oh yeah, it's just something we have to do. We have to have our next meeting scheduled, so it's just something we have to do. And yeah, so thank you for the reminder again.
Okay,
Commissioner Brown Sparks, you have your hand up.
I actually met someone who is in the social work police officer program, and they said they would be willing to come talk to our commission if that was something that we wanted.
Okay.
I also have a friend who works in the social work department at the BPD, Melissa Stone. I'd be happy to invite her if we think it's helpful.
Absolutely. And we have another one, Professor Bird, who's working with us, and she's in the School of Social Work also. Now, she isn't in Bloomington Police Department, but she is in the IU social work school, and she teaches there. So we have lots of great avenues. Sounds perfect. So I'm hearing a lot about that. Maybe we should think about having guest speakers, maybe on the, just an idea, guest speakers on an agenda soon as a possibility. I don't know. We do have to start getting into this other part of the agenda soon, though, because we've got to get through a lot of stuff here today. Commissioner Routzon, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that possibly the alternative policing committee could consider having these people as guest speakers to our committee, and that would avoid using our valuable commission as a whole time. We could record it and other commissioners could watch it if they're interested. It's just a suggestion I have for some of these guest speakers to not use up our valuable meeting time.
Thank you for sharing that. Maybe we can talk about that more over email also. Okay, let's move on the agenda to discussion of committees. Conflict Resolution Committee report was Commissioner Mann. You took some really good notes. Was there anything you wanted to share today, or are we waiting a little while and sharing next month? What's your thoughts? Anything you want to share on that?
I can share a broad overview that we've established that the mission of the committee is to establish an internal protocol for dealing with conflict resolution between commissioners. And we are not some kind of panel or anything like that that deals with every instance of conflict resolution that comes up and hands out some kind of judgment. We're going to gather examples of best practices from other organizations, and we'll put together a proposal for a protocol and have it ratified by the rest of the commission. So that's our main goal. And we have some other specific conflicts left over from previous members of the commission that we've been tasked with looking into too. So that's also on our plates. And we will meet again on March 1st.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for that report. And on the sexual assault side of things, Commissioner Ford had said, had shared the Victims Advocate sexual assault RAIN database and Chandler Boys. So thank you for that. I looked at the city's annual report and dug into some of the data, and all the crimes in the city of Bloomington went down last calendar year, with the exception of sexual assault and rape. So I'm very glad we've got that on the radar, because those went up. So that's troubling. Commissioner Ford, you have something?
So I actually just wanted to bring up a comment that I had when I was talking to him about this is, while reports being higher is concerning, it can actually be a sign that people are reporting more often, yeah, and that there's more resources available. So I think it's going to be important for us to kind of figure out and distinguish between, like, is it the same number? And unfortunately, with how many unreported cases, we never really know how much the initiatives that, like, if we, and you mentioned last time, like putting things in stalls and stuff like that, could actually increase the amount of reports. But the positive effect is people are actually feeling comfortable and confident enough to report. So I do think that's an important perspective when we're taking a look at sexual assault cases and not just looking directly at the number count.
100% agreed with that comment. That is something we discussed when we were talking about sexual assault in committee, was that, and also that 5 out of 8 rapes aren't reported. So yeah, it's a troubling thing, but that is a very important point. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about that before we move on? Commissioner Routzone?
I just wanted to add that I think we are planning to try to address sexual assault somehow in our alternative policing committee, that as far as I understand it. We haven't decided exactly how, but we do have that intention, Commissioner Ford. I wanted to let you know because I don't think you're in that committee.
Thank you. Yeah, that is definitely on our plate in that committee. You are right. Okay, moving along to asking staff to talk to us about the electronic meetings update. If you're awake, Stephen.
I am, yes. Thanks for letting me give you a few housekeeping updates. I just want to put some things on your radar so that you're not surprised. The governor's health emergency order is what allows us currently to meet electronically. And the current executive order extends through March the 4th, which is next Friday. There's a little uncertainty as to whether he will extend it further. I think he stated publicly that until the state legislature takes some actions to guarantee Indiana still qualifies for certain federal funding, he will continue to extend the health emergency. So I think his decision hinges on the state legislatures acting. I've heard some folks say that he may extend it past March the 4th, but not go the full 30 days that he's allowed to. So we'll know for sure by next Friday, but I wanted to prepare you all to begin thinking about meeting in person as soon as the week starting March the 7th. So if that health emergency is not extended, I just wanted to remind you that under a relatively new state law, some of you can participate virtually, but we'll need at least a quorum present in person, so majority of the current commissioners. You will need to attend at least 50% of the meetings in a given year in person. There are some exceptions, and I'll mention those here in a second. And you will only be allowed to attend 2 consecutive meetings electronically. So one of the main exceptions that might apply here, there's an exception for military service, death of a relative, emergency situations where injury is threatened, or illness or medical conditions. And I know some of you might have mentioned that that last exception applies to you. So if you'd like to get in touch with staff privately to talk about what we would need to just have in writing so that you're able to attend electronically, just please reach out. We will pass along any information we get from the state to you all, but we haven't been getting much advance notice. So the governor has been extending his order and kind of announcing it the day the current order expires. So we'll be watching closely next week to see what he does. And that kind of bleeds into the second bullet point that I wanted to mention here. So I believe you all voted on an annual schedule for your regular meetings, and we included that in the packet. And part of this is, I know Becky had attended a meeting where this occurred. It sounds like you all have at least discussed changing the date and time from that schedule. Is it all right if I pull this up real quick and share my screen?
Yeah, of course.
Let's see.
Was this also not on our agenda to do this later on also, or maybe this is the now?
It kind of bleeds into the point about scheduling committee meetings,
Okay, fair
which
enough.
is the second report there. So for both your regular meetings and your committee meetings, as we move into in-person meetings, it'll become very important for staff to know in advance when you all would like to meet. And so at the moment, I think Becky thought that this annual schedule is what had been voted on. It sounds like you all had picked a new date and time. So we might want to wait until later in the agenda and confirm if these Thursday meetings aren't going to be what you all do moving forward. We'll want to take a vote and adjust this. But I also wanted to mention any committee meetings, we'll need to have a space for you at City Hall. And so it would be very helpful for staff to know in advance when each committee is going to meet, so we can make sure notice is posted and there's a room available. So that's for committees that you all have formally created. I know several of you have talked about working on things just informally together. That's fine. But if committees are going to meet and would like to take official action, we need to know about that. So that's all to say, we may be going back to in-person meetings somewhat in the near future, and just logistically, we'll need to have this information so that we can make sure you all have a space to meet and have everything you need to go forward. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. And if you'd like to speak privately about anything I've mentioned, please reach out.
I do have a question. Anybody else? Since I'm acting as chair, I should go last. Okay, seeing none. Is there childcare available?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. And will masking be something that we'll do? And if not, can we make sure we're socially distanced? I'm in healthcare, and I work with hospice patients and end-of-life patients, as well as the elderly and others.
Masking is a good question. Certainly you'd be able to wear a mask. I think I've heard the county's mask order may not be extended past March the 4th. I'll have to look into whether City Hall as a building will require masks. I think we can arrange for your meetings to be held in rooms where we can spread out and socially distance. But again, that leads into having plenty of advance notice of when you'd like to meet so that we can make sure rooms are reserved and available. So,
sure. So thank you for that. That's I'd love to take off the mask and be socially distanced, so we can actually talk to one another a little bit better. So thank you for that. We have some dates already. I think the first one will be March 10th. So you might want to jot that down. I think it's, and Commissioner Routsong, I hope you got my email that you were right on alternatives to policing, 5 p.m.
Could I make a request? And I apologize if this is going to duplicate some work. If any of the committees, or have you all picked committee chairs? No. I guess my request is for one member of each committee to let me know what meetings you have coming up. And I apologize, but Becky and I have been working to kind of hand off all of her information to me, and we probably have that, but it would be helpful just so I don't miss anything to know what meetings you all have coming up, make sure everything's in place for those. And again, if any of them are past the March 4th date, just be prepared that you may need to meet in person, and we'll keep you posted as soon as we have more information.
That's a good point. I know we have two committee meetings on March 1st, but I'm assuming those will be Zoom meetings, and we have not gotten chairs per se. Sometimes one person will take over more than the other, but so we can work on that. I'm absolutely positive we can figure that part out. But we have conflict resolution at noon on the 1st, research committee at 4:15. If Commissioner Ford got the Zoom link to you folks by 3 p.m.
I did not see that email until after 3 p.m.
So
unfortunately, we have to reschedule.
Yeah, that meeting is canceled. So we have conflict resolution, and then the March 10th, I think. So that gives us a start, and we can get with you more about committee meetings, Stephen.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hang on, I think I might have saw another hand up. Did I see it? Oh, I see it. I see a hand went down, and now a hand's up. Commissioner Brown Sparks?
There's only 2 people on one of my committees, and I'm immunocompromised.
That should be, so.
We're going to have more commissioners soon. Maybe there'll be more people on that committee soon.
Okay.
If you want to reach out, I think we can get something in writing that would qualify under one of those exceptions so that you can continue to participate electronically. So yeah, we'll talk with you about that.
Also, sorry I didn't raise my hand, but Commissioner Miller mentioned childcare, and you said that would not be an option. What is that about? Like, I should phrase that differently. Like, if I was having to attend a in-person meeting, and of course I don't have childcare, like, is that normally offered?
I was just asking if it's something that is offered, because I want to be cognizant of people that have children. That's why I asked. I just wanted to know the answer to that. At the Y, they offer it. At the YMCA, you have childcare. So why doesn't the city? Maybe that's something we should investigate, because, yeah, maybe that is something we need to investigate somewhere down the line, you know? No, that's why I asked Commissioner Carey.
Okay, so thank you. Because I was just asking. I was reviewing everything. I was like, well, I didn't realize that when if and when we were going to meet in person, that was actually an option. So just wondering.
Not, unfortunately, it sounds like, but it does sound like we're going to probably be meeting in person soon. So maybe we'll be seeing one or two, or how many ever, if you have children, little ones. So at some of the meetings, maybe we can corner off a little section that's like the play section. Oh, you can find me over there in that section.
Yeah. No, I wish that she had she would be still for that long. She would be all in the camera screaming and everything. So yeah, that's probably.
So we'll bring some costumes. All right. Stephen, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, I'll just add that that's not the first time someone suggested that childcare should be available. I think usually it comes up in the context of folks attending meetings, members of the public who want to attend council meetings or boards and commissions, but certainly the folks serving on boards and commissions themselves, that's a good idea. And if it's something the commission wants to recommend, I can see that being a way of increasing access for members of the community who might not otherwise, be able to participate. So reducing barriers to participate in government might help folks feel more involved, be able to get more involved. So, it's not a new idea. Unfortunately, I've in my time here, I've not seen that be available. Obviously the barrier is cost and staffing, but you might consider that as a recommendation of the commission.
That's what I thought too. So The second you said no, I was like, oh, that's too bad. So maybe that'll be one of the many things we try to get on the agenda next time, or next time, or next time. Does anybody else have anything else before we move along? And thank you, Stephen, for that update on.
Can we put educational material stipend on the agenda sometime in the future?
Educational materials?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I think we just send whoever the chair is what we want or interested in having on the agenda, and whoever can work it in. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I said we need a stipend for education materials.
Yeah, I think I'm jotting down. We've got this on today's agenda to suggest topics for future meetings, but I've got possible childcare at the city and a budget for the commission for research and educational materials.
Yeah, we don't have to hear that they said no when they formed this commission. We can still ask. I was at that meeting when somebody said, well, let's be clear, this isn't going to have a budget. That doesn't mean we can't ask. So I'm glad you brought it up, Commissioner Brown Sparks. Commissioner Routsong, did you have something else?
Oh yeah, I was just going to add, I was also planning to bring that up, the topic of a research budget in the new business. But since we're discussing it now, I wanted to add that I think it's extremely important, since our commission is made up of people who self-identify as members of marginalized communities, that we may have restricted incomes. And so whoever it is that makes that decision that we're going to be appealing to, that we need to point that out. I think that if maybe other commissions don't get a research budget, that this could be a reason or justification for us having one. Because I've also found it restrictive in wanting to do research for books and articles, both.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would suggest like maybe $1,000 a year to start with, and then we just try it for a year and see how that works.
Could we possibly put that on the agenda to discuss also? I think it's a good idea. I think it deserves debate and discussion further than just, bringing it up. I mean, because I'm all for it. And is everybody okay with maybe having that on the agenda? And we can ask the chair via email to add things to the agenda also. Okay? Whoever that chair is, we can send those ideas to. If you think of more stuff, send it to that person. And if it pops up, say it now too. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying we can also do that. So don't forget, I didn't get any emails this last time. I did. I got quite a few. But and dialogue about what we were going to be having on here. But I was like, oh, where's all the people? And what are we going to add besides this stuff? So anyway, just a reminder, reach out to your chair, acting chair, interim chair, and say what you want on there too. Commissioner Routsong, you have something else?
Oh yeah, were we going to schedule the next meeting time during this time? Or is that later on in the agenda?
It's a good question. We usually do it at the end. Scheduling for next meetings, I think, is number 13. If we get to it.
Okay, thank you.
We may very well have to skip and cancel a couple things in the agenda. And if we do, if we're running out of time, we can certainly amend the.
I just don't want us to overlook it, since it's very important for the Anti-Semitism Resolution.
we already covered that topic in our last meeting. We know it's there, and we also have to also address the whole schedule as a whole because it's problematic for many commissioners, the Thursday night thing. So we'll be discussing it. Let's see, do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak or ask any questions? If so, please raise your hand now. I think we're limiting public to the same as we have, to 3 minutes for comments or questions. Comments? Seeing none.
I do see Jim Shelton with his hand raised.
There we go. Hello, Mr. Shelton.
Hello, Jim Shelton with the Chamber. I put this in the chat, but I wanted to make sure you all heard or read or found out that the Chamber will be happy to support, I'm sure, the Anti-Semitism Resolution. So you might want to reach out to Eric, or you can reach out to me, and we can figure out how to make that public and how to help.
That's
awesome.
great.
If you want to put your email address in the chat, I can email you specifically. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Shelton, and thank you, Commissioner Routsong, for taking care of that. Did you have anything else, Mr. Shelton?
No, sorry, I had to go through several clicks to unmute. No, that was all.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. We appreciate the support. Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions or comments from the audience or from the public, we're going to go to unfinished business. The Reparations and Atonement Committee said that they wanted a little bit more time to rename their committee during last month's regular session. So we are going to start there and see if that committee, I didn't even see when it met. And so did it meet? And if so, did you come up with another name? And that, I believe, is Commissioner Brown Sparks and Commissioner Routsong. Did you come up with a name?
We did not discuss renaming the committee. I didn't realize that was on our list of things to do.
That's what, yeah, it was topicked during the last session. How does Reparations and Atonement Committee sound for now?
I think that's fine for right now.
It's okay with me. I mean, I didn't know it was an issue to change it.
It was something that Commissioner Brown Sparks had been mulling about, and she just really wanted it to be phrased.
I think that atonement doesn't just mean like atonement for slavery or to African Americans. I think that that's what the issue is. So like when that's part of it, like the atonement is.
We could add the word racial if you wanted to be more specific. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's for me, when I say atonement, it's not just racial atonement. It's atonement for things to all of the marginalized communities that have had issues and were treated poorly. It's for all the different wrongs that might need to be corrected. People that need a liaison that they can go to and might need assistance that belong to a marginalized community. I want there to be like a liaison that they can go to if they need help. So if you belong to one of those marginalized communities and you might need extra help, I want there to be a liaison for you to go to that will help you go through that process. Like that would be a form of atonement for some acts that have happened in the city before. And instead of that, and having an extra hard time, then that way you'll have somebody to help guide you through the process instead of having the door slammed in your face that you would have had before.
Does anybody have anything additional that they'd like to say?
Oh, I think the name is fine. We do have several other things to mention about the committee itself. Is that what you mean? I don't have anything more to say on the name. I think it's fine.
I wanted to say something about the name. I know in the before it started out BIPOC, and then there was more conversation, and then Commissioner Brown Sparks said that what she just said now about wanting it to be more open to more people. And I think that's what led us to this conversation today about wanting just to rename it. So, you know, whatever you decide is perfectly fine with me. And if you want to make that decision today, we can take a vote on it if you're ready to vote on it, or we can wait. And that's all I had to say about that. And Commissioner Routsong, did you have something further you wanted to say about the renaming? That's the section we're on in the agenda right now.
No.
Okay. So do we want to formally name it that, or do you want to wait and discuss it more, the two of you, and come back with that as an agenda item later on, or do you want to formalize it now? If so, I would entertain a motion for renaming it Reparations and Atonement Committee.
I'm going to defer to Kamala on this.
I'm fine with that name. So I make a motion to name it the Reparations and Atonement Committee.
Do I see a second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, commissioners. So we'll take a voice vote. Commissioner Routsong?
Yes, and I meant Commissioner Brown Sparks. Sorry, Commissioner Brown Sparks.
That's fine.
Yeah, and yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown Sparks, I'm guessing that you're going to be a yes on renaming that committee to Reparations and Atonement Committee?
Yes.
Since you made that motion. Commissioner Mann?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Carey?
Yes.
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
And Commissioner Miller? Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to discussion of election of officers now. That's what's on the agenda now. So before we had talked about the fact that Commissioner Brown Sparks had stepped down as chair, and I think we all thanked her for her service to the city and this commission for being the chair. I know I did. I'm pretty sure everybody else did too. And then I also was hoping to step down as the acting interim chair after serving as the co-chair, and that has been an honor. It's a lot of work, but also an honor. And so then in the acting chair position for a little while too. So we had discussed who might want to throw in their hat, and then we also know that there's been some other commissioner applications that have come forth, and those interviews are going on now. So I think we should just open it up for discussion as to how we want to move forward, what that looks like. And I will wait to go last since I am the interim chair at the moment. So Commissioner Mann, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how close we are to having more commissioners on the commission, so that there's a wider chance of somebody wanting to take this role on.
We're pretty close. We're very close. We're in the interviewing stages now. So we'll be pretty close. I could say we could do the interim again if somebody wanted to step up to do that and wait, or we could do it now. That's what I'm waiting. I'm wanting to hear from everybody what their ideas are. I'm going to go down the line, but I see a hand up. Commissioner Routzon? You need to unmute yourself, please.
I was just going to say, I didn't realize you were going to call on all of us. I can wait till you get to me. That's fine.
Oh, it's okay. You're already unmuted. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. I think that we've all thought about it since we discussed it in the last meeting. And if there are people that are interested in doing it, I think it would be better to make a decision to not hold it up to the next month. But that's just my opinion, and that's only if someone's interested.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown Sparks, any thoughts?
Well, I have two thoughts. One, we spent a lot of time coming up with the idea that we would all take turns, and we never tried that method. So I didn't know if we actually wanted to try that method, since we spent such a long time coming up with that idea. And then I'd be willing to still come up with the agendas and plan everything if somebody else wants to lead the meetings.
Thank you. Commissioner Ford, you have any thoughts?
I wasn't here when you guys talked about like alternating the chair role. I don't know exactly what you guys had discussed previously, but I think that is something that could be possible and could help alleviate pressure and help everyone take that leadership role occasionally rather than having to do it every month. Other than that, when it comes to if we should elect now or later, I think it depends on who is interested, if anyone's interested in the main chair position or not. Because I don't know where everyone's interest is.
Thank you. And Commissioner Carey?
I was initially thinking about, trying to take on that role. And I sat down and I just checked my schedule, and like, it would just be like really impossible for me to do. I tried to move some things and it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to, because I was like really ready to take on the role, because I know that it's needed. But at this time, I don't think I would be able to give it 100%, and I don't do anything 50%. So I wanted to make sure.
Thank you for that. Has everybody weighed in, and is it my turn yet? I think it is for the first round. I wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on that too. And I really like everything I've heard. Commissioner Brown Sparks, particularly the taking turns thing. We had discussed this and did spend an absorbent amount of time on it. And it's more of a, when we do that, we give way to everybody having a chance to do that position, take that position on. And maybe my idea would be maybe one person do it for 3 months or 4 months, probably 3 months, so it would be 4 chairs a year. There still are 12 months in the year, I think. So that way there could be some continuity for a couple months, and then that acting interim or that acting chair could pass on the tasks to the next person, and maybe everybody throws in their hat. And if there is a person that's willing to step in to the role of running the meeting, because I heard Commissioner Brown Sparks say she would be willing to do it, but she doesn't want to run the meeting of what each person has set boundaries for themselves for, that we could maybe work with those personal boundaries too, to make them work for each and every person, while still having people take on the role of the chair. So I kind of think we should wait. We should have an acting chair. We should have a vote for an acting chair, an interim chair now, and then we'll have more commissioners. That's what I'm thinking. An interim chair for now. When we get more commissioners, we can all look at the calendar and say, hey, let's break this down into possibly a 3-month commitment for a chair position, and then we pass that gavel on. That's what I'm thinking. So that's all I have for this round. Commissioner Routsong, you're up in the queue first. Second round. And thank you for keeping time, Stephen.
Oh, I was just going to add that I'd be willing to help co-chair with Commissioner Brown Sparks in that, if that would help move things along.
Do you mean for right now in an interim position until more people are on the commission, or could you explain a little bit more of what that meant for clarity?
Oh, no, I meant however we're doing it, whether it's for a year or 3 months or whatever, I'd be willing to do that, so that to help support her in that opportunity to do that, however long we're doing it for.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else want a second round ideas for how we want to handle this going forward? Any thoughts on my idea and also Commissioner Brown Sparks' idea or other people's ideas? Commissioner Ford?
I feel like it would probably be the best to have just set a chair for next meeting, and then see then. I don't know, Stephen, when are we expecting the people? Maybe next meeting or the meeting after? Do you know?
I would hope by the next regular meeting. I would hope by next month.
Okay, so with that said, we might be, I don't know, obviously their experience or anything like that, but they might be very interested in doing the chair position. They might have ideas or something like that, unless someone's wanting to volunteer to be the main chair for, I don't know, Commissioner Routsong, if you're wanting to like lead the meetings for the next 3 months, if that's what you were asking. And Commissioner Brown Sparks was agreeing to co-chair those meetings. I was kind of
That's what I meant.
Okay.
That is what I meant. And I personally think we should, if we are going to alternate, we might as well start that now instead of waiting another month or two, because we've already waited a month and hoping that they would be at this meeting, if you remember. So I'm just saying, especially if we're going to do it every 3 months, we should just start.
Thank you for the offer.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us that would be willing to help with that. And thank you, Commissioner Routsong. Yes, that was nice. It was the nicest thing I've heard all day. Anyone else? Thoughts on how we want to move forward with the leadership for right now? Like for the next meeting? Who wants to take it on? Do we have more than one person that wants to do this? Do I hear any nominations for the, are we doing, what, have we decided what we're doing? Interim chair? Are we doing chair for a couple months? I think we should, I honestly think we should wait for more members to make the definitive decision on all of it. Not the chair for right now, but going forward and how it's going to look. Okay, I have nobody making a motion for anything, so. Oh, Commissioner.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
If Commissioner Routsong and Commissioner Brown Sparks are willing to co-chair, as they've suggested, and they're willing to do that for the next meeting, then if we do have new commissioners, and they do express a real interest in that position, we can revisit it. Otherwise, this could just be the beginning of Commissioner Routsong's term, if we're all going to take turns. If that makes sense.
Your audio, at least for me, is kind of cutting out. Is it cutting out for?
Sorry about that.
I got the gist of it. I was just letting you know. Thank you for your thoughts on that. I'll be right back, and I can hear. So if anybody else wants to add anything, that's fine. I'm just going to mute myself for a second. I've got to get the dog back in.
I'll just offer up some possible motions that it sounds like maybe things you all want to make. So I've heard a possible motion to elect either one or more members as chair to serve through next month's regular session. I've heard suggestions to elect one or more members as chair or co-chairs for longer than that. I think if anyone's interested, you could make a motion to nominate, Commissioner A and or Commissioner B as chair or co-chairs to serve through a period of time. So if it's just through next month's regular session, that's fine. If it's through 3 meetings, so we're talking March, April, May, so it would be through May. I think that all works. I think at your next meeting, if you'd like to kind of have a more defined schedule, someone could move to have a rotating schedule and have everyone listed out. So once you have new members in and hear who all would be interested in serving as chair, if you'd like to propose a schedule of chairs so that folks know what's coming up, that could also work. So just wanted to throw out some possible motions if folks were interested in making those.
Thank you, because I think everybody should be in the hot seat. I mean, we should all be spreading the love that way, so to speak. So I like that motion. I wish you were on the commission and you just had made it so we could go forward. Anyway, does somebody want to make a motion? Commissioner Routsong, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that Commissioner Brown Sparks and I serve as co-chairs for the next 3 meetings. That will give us some stability. And if we do get new members, that gives them a little time to get adjusted. And it sounds like Commissioner Brown Sparks was willing to do that. Are you still willing to do that?
Willing to do that.
That's my motion then.
I'll second that.
So we're going to do a voice vote of that, having Commissioner Brown Sparks be chair and Commissioner Routsong be chair, and they're both going to be co-chairing. Am I getting
Yeah,
that?
that's right. I think we would be equal co-chairs.
That's okay. And that's until we have more people, or the 3 months or whatever, right? That's for 3 months for now.
It's for 3 months. And if we decide to alternate every 3 months, then we'll have ours, we'll have ours done already.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna take a voice vote on that. Commissioner Mann?
Yes.
Commissioner Routsong?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
Commissioner Carey?
Yes.
And Commissioner Miller? I say yes. And that motion carries. Guess what that means? I think you take over the meeting now. Both of you. It's been nice. Thank you. Have fun. You are on topic
9C.
Thank you. You're on 9C. Sounds like Commissioner.
All right. Yeah, sorry. I got this. Okay. We're on 9C. Continue discussion on committee membership. Limiting number of members on a committee. Limiting number of committee. I guess I thought we had already discussed this and settled it in the last meeting. Is this still unfinished business?
Yes, it is. We're having more discussion about it.
Okay, I'd like to open the meeting for discussion on this topic.
And sorry for interrupting.
I'd like to hear anyone's thoughts on this topic.
My thoughts aren't exactly on this topic, but it's similar things, especially with new commission members coming in, is we don't have any, that I know of, any protocol to get onto committees. Like when I got onto the research committee, that was because of like we were doing a vote roll call or whatever to see who wanted to be on it. But when it comes to like trying to increase the members on committees or do things like that, I don't know if there is a policy in place or if we just say it during one of these times where we want to be on a different committee or an additional committee. anyone has thoughts on that?
Just for clarification, are we speaking on whether or not it should be a rule to be on the committee? I'm sorry, like a kind of like a, how can I put this? Like election, like it was when we were elected onto this committee, or I'm confused on what
we're discussing any rules around committees at all right now. Any rules on committees about minimum, maximums, process, it sounds like, how to join. I would say, and it sounded like you also mentioned possibly like, yeah, I guess that's what they mean by minimum on the committee, maybe, or do we want to require each commissioner to have a certain number of committees that they're on? We're talking about all of that. And
well, personally, if I know we're getting more members, if it could be handled by the commissioner, I don't think that anything should be changed. At this point, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, everything seems to be moving smoothly. If not, if there's any wildfires that I'm missing, please let me know. But I really think that as long as the commission isn't lacking or the commissioners don't mind being on multiple ones, I don't think that nothing should be changed.
Thank you, Commissioner Carey. I wanted to just say to Commissioner, oh, I see Commissioner Miller has her hand raised. Commissioner Miller.
We had discussed having committees of hopefully more than two, because one of the committees has only two, but having committees with at least 3 or 4, and maybe Commissioner Mann, you could remind me, because I know that was a dialogue we had about how many would be on each committee. Because when we get more commissioners, was it
4.
Was it 4?
Yeah, it was 4.
Yeah, I think so.
Pardon me.
And I think we did have a discussion of agreeing that there should be minimum numbers, as in every commissioner should be on at least 2 committees, for example. And also each committee should have at least 4 people, 3 or 4 people on it. And then I don't think we felt the need to implement maximums, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think that was right.
I remember Commissioner Brown Sparks and I advocating not to give any minimum number of commissioner members, because that would kill one of our current committees that we're hoping will grow in membership.
Right. Yeah, and I think we agreed that that wouldn't be a rule that would kill any committee like that that's still trying to get members. I think that was more when new commissioners come on to the commission, we make the point to them, hey, this is where you're needed. These committees need at least 4 people. So that should be your priority, is considering that committee instead of another one that already has 4 or 5 people on it.
Thank you, Commissioner Mann. That's a very good suggestion. And I think we should try to follow that as a rule. Like, clearly, I also think we should allow people to choose committees that they're passionate about, like regardless if they need, but I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but that doesn't preclude. I think that's a very good suggestion, that when new people come on, we might suggest where we need committee members. And speaking to that I wanted to also add to Commissioner Ford's question or comment about process, that perhaps in order, or one way to improve our process and make it as open as possible would be to have it a time during every meeting when we discuss committee, like have reports on committees, where we just say very, briefly, does anyone want to join any new committees or move, off committees or anything like that? And we just, put the question out there, maybe on the agenda for every meeting. What do you think about that?
I definitely think that would help a lot with, because like I said, I've only been on the committee for a few months, and so I didn't know when was the correct time to ask or bring that up. So I think an agenda would help, especially for like the new members too, from that perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Who's taking notes? Is it Stephen? Who's taking notes?
Oh, I've got it.
Oh, Alex, sorry. You're making a note of that, right? I think that's a great suggestion to add that into our monthly agenda.
Right.
Perfect. So it sounds like, sorry.
Yes, I would like to suggest that maybe we also rotate who's on committees after maybe 2 terms or something, so we can get fresh perspectives on committees. Many times that's just kind of an ongoing thing. People get, a chance to be on different committees and move along to a different one, and then we're not hearing the same voice over and over again. We're hearing other voices, and it also opens up our minds to growth, and I think it's a good idea. So that's what I'm thinking about committees, and maybe having a term limit, so to speak, kind of. I don't know what that looks like, because our terms are only 1 year or 2 years, depending on when your term started. So maybe that's a moot point. That's all I have.
Thanks, Commissioner Miller. What does everyone else think about the idea of maximum term limits for committees specifically?
I think it was last session, we actually talked about how long people should be like expected to serve on each committee. And I would have to double check the minutes or the agenda, but I think we said a year starting in January when everyone's terms end. So every year we reevaluate all of the committees and see if people want to change committees or like anything around that realm. I thought I can double check the agenda.
That's it. That is exactly right. Thank you. So that is exactly what we did on that part. And we voted.
Okay, so it sounds like what I'm hearing is that we don't want to have any minimum numbers of commissioners required for a committee at this time. That is something we might do in a future time. We also, it sounds like we're also saying, just to rehash what I'm hearing, it sounds like we don't see any need for maximum number of commissioners on a committee at this time. That again, it's always something we can address in the future if it becomes a problem. For now, people can choose voluntarily the committees that they want to be on, although we may suggest and encourage committees that need members, to new people especially. And anyone can change the committee they're on monthly. We're going to be adding that to the agenda, so whoever's running the meeting can be sure to say so. So that's very clear. And did I miss anything? Oh, no. Yeah, did I miss anything? Summarizing where we are on this?
That sounded like everything.
Okay, do we need to take a vote, Stephen?
It didn't sound like any of the things you mentioned required a motion. Certainly if you, I'm trying to think, I don't think so.
We're not changing anything, right? Actually,
no.
I mean, except for adding to the meeting agenda that we're gonna make it explicit that people can change committees.
We can make that explicit. I think that would fall under existing agenda items, but just to make sure folks know that they have that opportunity, I think we could add a note, and that should handle it.
Thanks, Stephen. Moving on, we have like 1 minute left before 6:30. We have just a couple more items on the agenda. I would suggest, since it's so late and we're so close to being over with the meeting, that we continue. Would anyone like to make a motion that we continue the meeting until 6:45?
I'd like to make a motion to continue the meeting till 6:45 because we really need to talk about the annual report to council.
I'll second it.
Any objections, or do we need to do a roll call, Stephen?
You can simply ask if there are any objections.
I would also like to be the one to talk about the annual report to council. Since we've
Any objections to continuing the meeting to 6:45? Okay, that has passed. The other, I think, very important thing that we need to do is to schedule a date for the next meeting. Looks like that's after the annual report to council discussion. So if you could try to limit the discussion on the annual report to just a few minutes, that would be great, Commissioner Miller. Thanks.
I think we already decided that we were going to have 3 minutes and 2 minutes. We could change that if you want to 2 and 1 to 2 minutes and 1 minute for the second round. If that would be a time saver.
Maybe we could schedule the next meeting first and have that done. Just to make sure that we do that.
We're going to debate this until we've wasted time, in my opinion. So if we just move along, I think we'll be okay and keep it. Can we just all agree to have it 2 minutes?
Okay. Any objections to keeping it at 2 minutes discussion for discussing the annual report to council? Okay, that passes. It's all yours, Commissioner Miller.
This shouldn't take even very long at all. It's that we just need to have, it on the calendar because the council has to have an idea when we want to give our annual report so they can put it on the calendar. It takes months to get something on the council calendar. So I just wanted to have a quick discussion. When we think we can get that annual report done, it's going to be a real simple report this first year, what we did each month kind of thing, and what we've worked on a little bit at a time. I have a template that Becky shared that's really simple that kind of lays out, it won't take much. But anyway, I recommend that we do it and ask that we have council's time in May to give our annual report before the break. So that's what I'm recommending. Anybody?
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Does anyone else have thoughts? Stephen, your hand is up.
Just as a point of information, the council currently has 2 regular sessions scheduled in May, May the 4th and May the 18th. If you all have a preferred month, a preferred specific date, I'm happy to take that back and pass that along to council leadership who kind of approves the agendas. That won't necessarily guarantee that'll fit into the schedule, but it's nice for them to know what your preferred timeline is. I'll just note too, I think this commission's first meeting was in May of last year. So May is kind of the earliest I think they'd be expecting you all to report. So if I don't want you all to feel rushed that you have to get it done, I don't want to stymie any efforts to get it done either. So if May is your preferred timeline, that's fine. I can take that back, but I'll let you all discuss. I just wanted to mention those two dates were May 4th and 18th.
Just a point of clarification. So are you saying that we're going to be presenting the report to them during a meeting, like a presentation, as opposed to just handing in a report?
So yeah, we will just give a report. We can do it any way we decide. It usually can be shared with PowerPoint, and was suggested that we just put together a PowerPoint to share with the council and the chair and or co-chairs at that time would be doing that with the council. So I make a motion that we get on the agenda for the second council meeting in May for our first annual report. And hopefully there'll be a second so we can get that, at least get on the calendar.
I'll second that. Okay, maybe I can't second it now that I'm chairing the meeting. Sorry. Can someone else second? Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, any objections to getting on the council calendar the second meeting in May in order to present our annual report? I don't hear any objections or see any hands up. I think that is passed. And I would ask at this time that all committee members currently start thinking about your committee's contribution to that report, and to having some substantive recommendations. I know we're working on in several of the committees I'm on that timeline. Okay, so are we done on that topic then?
Yeah, we're going on to the scheduling, Commissioner Routsong. So I think it's March, right?
Perfect. Yeah, so we do need to schedule a meeting for March that does not fall during Shabbat, which is on Friday evenings this time. So I guess, I don't know, how do you recommend doing this, trying to schedule? This was your idea, Stephen, to do this during the meeting.
Well, I'll just back up a little bit. That annual schedule I displayed earlier, it was Becky's understanding that even though you all had discussed, I think, changing the Thursday at noon regular meeting time to an alternative time, she wasn't sure that you had voted on that. So at some point, if you're not ready to do that right this second, it's fine. But at some point, we'll want to ask you all to vote on amending that that annual schedule that you had previously adopted. So currently under that schedule you had voted on previously, there's a meeting scheduled for March 24th at 12 noon. It sounds like you all had at least informally discussed moving all of your meetings to Friday at 5. So if that's also not going to work, if someone has an alternative date now, date and time in mind, you could make a motion. If we need to sort that out between now and then, that's fine. But I'd prefer to get a date and time nailed down now, which I realize it's difficult with 6 people and the possible addition of more coming up. So that March 24th at 12 noon, that it doesn't sound like that was a good time for folks.
Commissioner Ford, you have your hand up.
I was just looking at the members' availability. And one thing, this is more for you, Commissioner Routsong. My Tuesday night opened up recently. So we are all available on Tuesday night. And I didn't know if you had any flexibility with Tuesday nights or not.
What time is it?
It's from 5 to 7:30.
I mean, it depends. For me, it's some Tuesdays yes and some Tuesdays no, because the other commission I'm on meets on Tuesdays, but they only meet once a month. So I think we can do it. It just has to not be the same Tuesday.
Do you want me to check the calendar for March 22nd?
March 22nd, I could do that evening. You mean at 5 o'clock or? Okay, so can everyone let us know if they could make a meeting March 22nd at 5 o'clock? Could you please quickly check your schedules?
Yes.
For our next full commission meeting. And I think I heard Commissioner Brown Sparks say, yes, you could make it.
Yes.
I can also.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Brown Sparks. What about Commissioner Ford? Could you make it?
Yes.
Commissioner Carey? Commissioner Carey? Commissioner Mann?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll check with
this is just for the next meeting, correct?
For the next meeting, the next full commission meeting. Yeah. Okay. And I'll check with Commissioner Carey afterwards by email. It sounds like she's away from her desk. Okay. So then Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Your hand is up.
Oh, it had to do with scheduling. I was going to ask if we could have the calendar of availability up, but that's okay. We don't need it. We're going to do it via email, right?
We're doing what via email?
Even needs a calendar for the rest of the. Hopefully, we're hoping to reset that calendar, so we're not doing this every meeting.
I'm so sorry. I have been trying to unmute and I wasn't clicking. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. So what date are we trying to?
March 22nd, 5 p.m.
March 22nd. All right. Pull up my calendar. And I am all clear.
Great. And Commissioner Miller, could you continue with your comment?
Oh, I hadn't muted. It would be easier, as Becky had pointed out, if we could have a calendar already worked out, and we did have a calendar worked out, and then some people had some employment changes. So that's what I'm talking about. I think for staff's purposes and for mine, I need a calendar worked out. I mean, I schedule 2 months out. I go out of town a lot. I need a calendar. I need to know when the meetings are.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I think we're planning to do that.
So that's what I was talking about via email. Yeah. You would ask me what I meant. So it was.
Oh no, I don't think we would do that via email. I was thinking that we might do that at the next meeting, especially since we are expecting new members in that we might just do that in person at the next meeting. Or we could do it over email too. Are there any, Commissioner Carey, is your hand up? You had something more to say?
Yes, I totally agree that we should get back on schedule with that calendar because it was actually very beneficial. And it seems like at the moment, I know I probably sound like a broken record but Tuesday seems to work for everyone. Is that correct at the moment?
Right now, we're only discussing our very next meeting.
Yeah, I know. And I was just thinking about some dates because, I know we want to discuss at the next meeting, the future dates. So,
I guess if we all want to, we could, if anyone wants to make this motion, we could now make a motion to have our meetings repeat once a month, starting on March 22nd, however many Tuesdays that is into the, or like I said, we could wait till the next meeting if we think we're going to have new people and might want to change it. So if anyone wants to make a motion to meet every fourth Tuesday of the month, I would entertain that. Otherwise, we'll plan to discuss that at another time since we're running out of time.
Yeah, I think I'll make a motion to just wait till the next meeting because we don't want to take time and do that. And, you know, it doesn't work for our future commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ford.
I was going to make the motion to do it. So we're waiting, or no, or do we have a second on that motion? Because I think
there's no motion needed to not do something. I think if someone wanted to change your current schedule to you know, a fourth Tuesday of the month schedule, I think that would require motion. So
I want to make a motion that we do change it to Tuesdays at 5 if people don't typically have schedule concerns, because like for our future commissioners, they may not want to be on the commission, or they may end up having like problems committing to the commission unless they know the actual time frame.
I second that.
Yeah.
I second that. And we can always revisit the calendar if we need to.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion to have our regular standing commission meeting be the fourth Tuesday of every month at 5 p.m. And that's obviously something we can change at any time when the new commissioners come on. So I'm going to take a roll call vote on that. Commissioner Mann.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Miller.
Yeah. Yes.
Commissioner Ford.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown Sparks. Commissioner Brown Sparks, maybe you're muted still. Commissioner Carey.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown Sparks. Well, Stephen.
I think the vote carries 5-0. If Commissioner Brown Sparks is away from her computer, we'll just note that in the memo is absent for this vote. So.
Okay, perfect. Let me just double check the agenda before we adjourn. Is that the last thing on the agenda?
Excuse me, guys. Commissioner Brown Sparks is indisposed of. She had to go to the restroom. That's why it wasn't an absentee of her own volition of any kind.
Oh, thank you so much.
Sorry,
thank you so much for that.
The motion.
Yeah, the motion did carry. Sorry, I lost the agenda, but was that the last thing before adjournment, Stephen? Okay, perfect.
Yes,
would anyone like to?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
No, I second.
Thanks, everyone. See you next month.
Have a good evening.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend.